A cool breeze, carrying the scent of pine and wildflowers, kissed my face as I stepped from the cab. The resort stood before me, an elegant yet rustic blend of wooden beams, ivy-covered walls, and stone accents. The setting sun cast a warm glow on the trees and distant mountains. I pulled my suitcase along the uneven stone path, the rough surface a contrast to the smooth feel of my boots. Large, stylish flower pots, overflowing with white and light blue hydrangeas, punctuated the earthy tones around the entrance, adding vibrant splashes of color and undeniable charm. It was breathtaking, a beauty defying words. I pictured Alara secretly poring over lifestyle magazines, discovering similar idyllic scenes. I'd have to take pictures for Mom, though I doubted they could capture its essence. "Willow!" Alara's voice broke my reverie. She approached, a radiant smile on her face, her auburn hair falling in loose waves around her olive green dress and high heels. Her makeup was subtle, perfectly natural. A warm hug, followed by kisses on each cheek, sealed our reunion. "You made it!" she exclaimed, her voice brimming with excitement. "How was the drive? Not too bad, I hope?" I chuckled. "That's a pretty high standard you're setting," I said, gesturing to the stunning scenery. "I mean, look at this place. Just wait until you see inside." Alara stepped back, her hands briefly resting on my shoulders before falling to her sides. "But first," she said, "come with me. We should hide Iris before she runs into you on her own." We walked up the slight incline to the entrance, my suitcase rolling behind. A comfortable silence fell between us, a welcome respite. The resort's interior matched its exterior beauty. Sunlight streamed through white curtains in the wood-paneled lobby, illuminating the modestly decorated space. I didn't recognize any of the guests, but their cheerful chatter and laughter, drifting from velvet armchairs scattered around the room, created a warm, inviting atmosphere. Everything felt tasteful and elegant, never ostentatious. Through double doors, I spotted Iris at a low table, meticulously arranging a massive table plan with two seemingly bored resort staff members. Her curly brown hair and cheerful voice were instantly recognizable. "Iris!" Alara called. Iris looked up, her face lighting up when she saw me. "Willow, there you are," she called out, perhaps a little too loudly. She jumped up, nearly knocking over a book, and rushed to greet me with a hug. She smelled of oranges, likely from her shampoo. Letting go, she grinned. "You're late," she said playfully. "I'm on time," I retorted. "But you've been waiting for ages. You owe me a couple of spooky stories. Did you bring your tarot deck?" "Of course." Iris raised a triumphant fist. Then her expression sobered. "But we've had some strange things happening up here too. You'll have to tell me if you notice anything, like last night, the lights." "Iris, you're going to scare her away," Alara interrupted. "At least let her get inside and put down her bag." Iris blushed, waving her hand dismissively. Fine. We'll talk about it over dinner." "I'll hold you to that," I said. Iris pointed to a table at the back of the hall, laden with floral arrangements, place settings, and seating charts. "We're still figuring out the layout for tonight's dinner. Your opinion would be invaluable." "Of course," I replied, grateful for the distraction from my swirling thoughts. The next hour flew by as we helped Alara with the dinner arrangements. I held up different tablecloths, while she deliberated on which one looked best in the lighting. And Iris convinced the staff to adjust the dimmer switch, just slightly, to see how it altered the mood. It was the most fun I'd had in ages. I felt a comforting ease with this group I hadn't experienced in a long time. Ilara remained unflappable, even when things went wrong, simply smiling and adapting with effortless grace. It was impressive, yet slightly unsettling. I wondered if she was putting on a show, but then she winked, leaving me unsure if she was reassuring me or amused by my curiosity. "All right," Ilara announced. "We're done here. Iris, show Willow to her room. I'll see you at dinner later." Iris saluted. "Yes, Willow," I chuckled. It felt good to laugh so easily. As we left, I glanced back at Ilara, standing by the window, her auburn hair catching the light. A fleeting glimmer in her eyes, something I couldn't quite decipher. Vanished, replaced by her usual enigmatic aura. The evening unfolded elegantly, filled with laughter, the clinking of glasses, and lively conversations echoing through the grand hall. Chandeliers and candlelight cast a warm glow, while a cool breeze wafted in from the open terrace doors. Outside, it was dark and chilly, but inside, it was warm and cozy. Ilara was the center of attention, radiant in a red dress. I sat with Iris at one of the long tables, listening to her recount her nighttime escapade with friends, when Finn's booming voice cut through the room. All right," he shouted, rising from his chair beside Ilara, a half-empty glass of whiskey in his hand, his face flushed. "Can I have everyone's attention, please? Jasper, that means you too. Shut up for a second. I want to make a toast in honor of my beautiful bride-to-be." Silence descended as everyone turned to Finn. Ilara, too, faced him, awaiting his words. "First of all," he continued, his voice rising, "thanks for coming all the way out here. I know it's not a short drive. There's no cell service up here in the mountains, which is how I like it." Laughter erupted, and Finn paused, clearly pleased with himself. "But seriously," he said, gesturing towards Ilara with near reverence, "this isn't about the drive, or the pancakes, or any of that. It's about her. The woman who somehow agreed to marry me. Can you believe it? Me, the groom." The crowd cheered, clearly agreeing, clinking glasses in a toast. Ilara seemed slightly embarrassed, but composed, as if accustomed to, even slightly bored by, the attention. Finn, growing bolder, continued. "I've been called a lot of things in my time. Loud, stubborn, a pain in the ass. But lucky? That's a new one, I guess. I just had to find Ilara to get that title. So here's to love, to being lucky, and to the day I got the girl." More laughter and applause followed. Yet I couldn't shake the feeling that Finn was withholding something. His words were jovial, yet edged with something darker, as if a joke concealed a deeper, unspoken truth. I looked at Ilara, but she didn't appear bothered. People around her offered loving remarks, but she didn't laugh with him, her expression carefully neutral. The rest of the toast continued in this vein. Finn rambling half-drunkenly about their time in the mountains, thanking everyone from his fishing buddy to Ilara for her amazing cooking, and even the resort staff for tolerating their presence. By the end, the room buzzed with laughter and cheer, fueled by wine and Finn's infectious energy. I tried to convince myself it was just Finn's quirky humor, that he was a lovable goofball. But a disturbing unease lingered, particularly his gaze toward Ilara, almost possessive. Iris's voice momentarily distracted me from my growing unease. "Look," she said, "they brought out the dessert, mini cheesecakes and cupcakes." I ate a few cheesecakes and drank another glass of wine, attempting to calm my nerves, but the unsettling feeling persisted. Eventually, I excused myself, stepping outside for some fresh air. The cool mountain air felt invigorating, and I took a deep breath, trying to clear my head. The stars shone brightly, the crescent moon visible above the trees. I was beginning to relax when I heard the door open behind me. Finn stood there, smiling. "Hey, Willow," he said, his words slightly slurred. "Heading out already? The night's still young?" He sat beside me, a fresh glass of whiskey in his hand. He seemed more jovial than at dinner. "Why are you out here?" I asked. He chuckled. "Why are you?" I turned my gaze toward the distant mountains. "I just wanted some fresh air." He laughed. "You're thinking about something. What makes you say that?" He pointed at my face. "You've got that look Alara gets all the time. What's on your mind?" His bluntness startled me. "I'm fine," I said, trying to keep it light. "Sure you are," he said, taking a long sip of his drink. "All right, listen. I know I said some strange things tonight. That toast. What was that all about?" I asked, regretting the question instantly. He laughed, exhaling a frosty breath. Don't worry about that. I like to say things like that when I've had a few too many. You know, you'd understand if you saw the kinds of things I've seen up in these mountains." I couldn't tell if his grin was malicious, or if the sharpness of his teeth was merely a trick of the moonlight and his frosty breath. "Do you want to see something cool?" I think I should probably get going. No, hear me out. I have something. A Wendigo. You know what that is, right? The cannibal spirit? Yeah, well, we have one. It's in the storage room with the field equipment. Alara doesn't want me messing around with it. But if you want to see the real stuff, it's there. The stories are real, Willow. It's all real. I was shocked, not only by the suggestion, but by his seriousness. Finn grinned. "What do you say?" I straightened. "I'll pass," I said firmly. He looked at me for a moment, then laughed again. "Suit yourself. Maybe some other time." He walked away, leaving a strange feeling in my stomach. I woke to a cloudy, misty morning. It could have been peaceful, but I was on edge. Finn's drunken ramblings had left me uneasy. His strange comments about the resort, about secrets buried beneath it, and truths hidden in plain sight. If it had been anyone else, I would have dismissed it as a scare tactic, but Finn had a way of making even the most outlandish claims sound plausible. And then there was Alara. I couldn't shake the feeling she knew more than she was letting on. She laughed off Finn's comments, but a flicker of something, warning, challenge, had flashed in her eyes before she changed the subject. I couldn't stop thinking about it. So, when Iris appeared at my door, ready to explore the storage room, I hesitated only a moment before agreeing. We walked down a narrow corridor at the back of the resort, our footsteps echoing softly. We passed staff setting up for the day, but no one paid us any attention. It felt like sneaking around, even though we weren't doing anything wrong. Yet. Iris turned, a devilish grin on her face. "What? Scared? This is the sort of thing you love, Willow. Strange mysteries, creepy legends, bizarre science experiments. This is right up your alley." "Yeah, but usually I don't have to break the law to do it." "This isn't breaking the law. We're not breaking and entering. The door will be open. So it's not a crime. We're just doing a little urban exploration." "Tell that to the judge," I muttered. She was already walking toward the end of the service corridor. I followed, finding a large, steel-reinforced door at the far end. It looked completely out of place in the resort, more like something from a hospital or laboratory. Iris pressed her hand on the latch, and it opened. My heart pounded, but I didn't stop her. We stepped inside. The air felt different, cold, metallic. There were few windows, those on the far wall admitting only dim, gray light. The room was massive, filled with shelves overflowing with boxes, containers, and carefully arranged objects. At first, I thought it was just a storage room, but then I realized it was something more. A collection. Whoa, Iris breathed. This is kind of creepy. Creepy was an understatement. The room felt more like a laboratory than a storage room. Strange devices sat on tables, some with blinking green lights. Charts, drawings, and photographs covered the walls, many depicting claw marks, footprints, and other strange patterns in the snow. Iris examined a numbered box on one of the shelves. "What is all this stuff?" she asked. "Is Finn doing some kind of research out here? This is way more than I expected." I didn't answer. My eyes had fallen on a bulletin board covered in diagrams and notes, pictures of snow-covered landscapes and skeletal remains, along with scribbled comments about bone structure and antler growth. I chuckled nervously. Well, if this is Finn's research, at least he's thorough. Iris picked up a notebook, flipping it open. Cartilage mutation instability curve? What the... Shh, I hissed, unsure why, but feeling compelled to be quiet, to respect something unseen. There was no Wendigo in sight, no cages, no signs of captivity, just notes and strange tools. I was disappointed, but also relieved. "Let's get out of here," I whispered to Iris. We heard footsteps approaching, slow, deliberate. "I told you to drop it," Ilara said. "And I told you I'm not going to let it go this time," Finn replied, his voice slurred, but clearer than before, his tone sharper, more agitated. My heart hammered. I pulled Iris behind a shelf filled with jars of some liquid, smelling faintly of alcohol, phala, and something else I couldn't identify. We knelt, peering out between the jars. Finn entered, swaying slightly but clearly more sober and more upset. Ilara followed, looking tense. "It's not a question," Ilara said. "You're not capable," Finn retorted, turning to her. "You think you're better than me? You're not." "You're enough," Ilara insisted, her fists clenched beneath her cardigan. Finn reached for her, not violently, but grabbing the chain around her neck. The pendant fell between them, a piece of coal crudely carved into a diamond shape. Ilara froze. "Finn, please, put it back," she said, sounding more desperate and scared than before. He held the necklace out, grinning. "Why? What does this do?" The air thickened, changed. Finn began to twitch and shake, his voice dropping to a guttural growl as his shoulders popped and twisted. Antlers sprouted from his skull, his head reshaped. Ilara screamed, her face contorting into a monstrous mask, her limbs lengthening, becoming bony, her eyes sinking. She turned, as if sensing us watching. It was like stepping from one world into another, from the warmth and light of the dinner party into the silent coldness of the storage room. The atmosphere felt different, unsettling. Iris was quiet now, her grip tight on my arm. "We'd been looking for Ilara," Iris had said, but my gut screamed at me to escape. I didn't want to be here, nor did I want Iris here. I longed for the warmth, the music, the happiness of the party. Then we saw Ilara, standing at the end of an aisle, her back to us, looking out the window. I was about to call to her when I noticed something off. A tilt, a lean, as if she were falling, yet somehow remaining upright. I hesitated, then noticed her hand, glowing faintly, subtly. "Do you see that?" Iris murmured urgently. I couldn't finish. Alara reached for something, a necklace with a dark stone, trembling, rippling like water. I watched in horror as she touched it. The pale glow intensified, spreading as if about to break through her skin. "No," I whispered, taking a step forward, unsure what I could do to stop it. Alara looked up. My breath caught. I tried to swallow, but it was stuck. Iris grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my hoodie. We froze. Alara emerged from the aisle, the light from the windows casting a shadow over us. Her body was horribly disfigured. Long, crooked limbs, her face elongated and twisted, her skin pale and taut over bone. She turned, looked at me, a low growl escaping, a faint whisper within it. "Willow." I jumped, but didn't run. Iris gasped. Alara dragged herself towards us, her nails scraping the floor. "Willow," Alara repeated, her voice broken, reaching for me. "Protect." She turned to Iris, disgust and horror in her eyes. "Protect her." Iris moved closer. "Alara," she mumbled too loudly. I understood her confusion. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. The monster was her cousin. I couldn't believe it either. Alara leaned back, muscles twitching, as if something was pulling her body. She struggled to look at Iris, only managing to tilt her head. She growled again, but this time it was as if she were trying to speak. "Stay back," I said, pulling Iris closer. My heart pounded painfully. Alara's breathing was loud, her chains rattling. "Willow?" she forced out. "The pendant." I didn't understand. "The pendant?" I asked, my voice trembling. A throaty roar reverberated through the space. I glanced back. Finn, or what remained of him, something bubbling beneath his skin, fighting to break free. His back arched, the sound of splitting flesh echoing as sharp antlers pierced his scalp. He clutched the necklace, his clawed fingers shaking, resisting the urge to drop it. "Feed it to me," she mumbled, her mouth opening impossibly wide. "Feed it to you?" I said too quietly, hesitating. "What do you mean?" She twitched again, struggling to stand. "He mustn't keep it," she said, pointing a trembling finger at Finn. Finn's antlers tilted as he turned towards us. I couldn't tell if he registered our presence. His eyes held only rage and insatiable hunger. He parted his lips, revealing elongated fangs, then looked at Iris. "Run!" I shouted. But the word was barely out before Finn leaped. Iris stepped back, just avoiding his grasp. But he grabbed her shoulder, lifting her effortlessly. She screamed. I was about to rush to her aid, but Alara beat me to it, howling, throwing herself at Finn, knocking him down, sending them crashing to the floor. Iris was thrown to the ground. I dragged her back into the shadows. Alara and Finn were locked in a fierce struggle, teeth bared, claws slashing. I heard the sounds of tearing flesh and snapping bones, my stomach churning. Alara twisted unnaturally, pinning Finn to a steel table. The necklace slipped from his grasp, falling to the floor, the chain coiling like a snake. "Willow?" Alara croaked, her voice barely audible above the fight. Her single word froze me. She pointed to the pendant. I hadn't examined it closely before, but now I saw the inscription. "The bride will eat the groom." The bride. Alara, the groom. Finn. "Come on," Alara urged. I didn't hesitate. I ran, picked up the pendant, heavier than expected, wrapping the chain around my hand. Behind me, Finn, or the thing resembling him, growled like a wild animal. Alara fell to one knee, breathing heavily, looking into my eyes as I approached. "How do I began, but she didn't answer, opening her mouth wider and wider. I hesitated, but Finn roared again, and I knew I had no time. I pushed the pendant down her throat. The dinner ended on a strange note. Instead of elation, a heavy cloud of fear settled over the celebration. Alara left first. I followed, Iris joining us shortly after. The further we walked, the more intense the dread became, until we reached the storage room where everything fell apart. The pendant felt heavy in my hand, as if the gravity around it was stronger than elsewhere. Alara knelt before me, trembling, her monstrous form barely holding together. Her hands pressed against the floor, claws scratching the surface. Her mouth opened impossibly wide. It was as if she were breaking apart. Shadows flickered from her throat like flames. I hesitated, instincts warning me not to get close, not with those sharp teeth. "Willow," she rasped, a hint of the old Alara in her voice. I put the pendant in her mouth. Her teeth clamped down on my hand, not biting, but because I was too close. Her jaw snapped shut. I jumped back, wiping drool from my pant leg. For a second, she didn't move. Then she convulsed. Her spine seemed pulled upward by an invisible giant, her stomach pushing inward. Her head jerked back, a terrible, inhuman roar escaping, high-pitched, grating, echoing off the walls. Orange light emanated from her eyes, mouth, cracks all over her body. The room lit up, then flickered. Iris screamed behind me, hiding her head against my back, but I didn't hear her. I didn't know what was happening, but terror consumed me. I backed up, placing myself between Iris and the creature that had been her cousin. I didn't know why. I just wanted to protect her, get her away. But I didn't know how, what was happening. Alara shrieked, arms flailing, claws dragging against the floor and shelves, sending up sparks. Her screams morphed into a high-pitched laughter. Then she fell, twitching, as if having a seizure. The bright light faded, leaving a dim glow, quickly gone. Her body flickered, looking even more monstrous for a moment. Then she began to shrink, deflating, limbs retracting, bones shifting and cracking, skin filling out. Within seconds, she was her original size. Her black hair spread over the floor, although some parts looked wrong, too thin, patches missing. It was unmistakably her. I heard her moan, her hands twitched, forming and relaxing fists. I didn't dare move. I was frozen next to Iris. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't cooperate. I heard a low growl. I turned. It wasn't over. Finn had moved, perhaps attempting to enter the storage room, but had stopped, struggling to free himself from the shelves. His antlers were caught in the metal grating. He growled, twisting his head, trying to get free, but his antlers were trapped. His face was contorted, eyes bulging, mouth open, revealing sharp, jagged teeth. He let out one last guttural growl, claws scratching helplessly, then stopped moving. A slight tremble in his muscles, then nothing. Only Iris's sobs were audible. She gasped for air, clinging to me. I put an arm around her. I was still shaking, my skin clammy with sweat. "Is he?" Iris said, pausing to catch her breath. "Is he dead?" I looked at Finn, or whatever he had become. He was still breathing, but labored, each breath a struggle. He wasn't dead. He was stuck, seemingly trapped in some invisible snare, unable to escape. "I don't know," I said. "I don't think so." Iris cried louder. I didn't know how much longer I could stand. I heard a low moan, turning to see Alara lying on the floor, shaking, her skin pale, her face still twisted, though less so than before. She looked human now. "Alara!" I exclaimed, hurrying to her side. Iris followed, clinging to my arm. I fell to my knees beside Alara, afraid to touch her, but eventually I did. She was cold, her skin wet, but warmth lay beneath. She was breathing, but labored. "Alara," I said louder, my voice trembling. "It's okay. You're okay now." I wasn't sure it was true, if we were okay, if we could be. Her eyes opened a sliver. I saw green behind them, and she looked at me. Her lips moved. "Willow," she whispered, her voice strained. "I'm here," I said quickly, holding back tears. "We're here. You're safe. You're human again." For a moment she seemed to try to smile, a bitter smile that never quite reached her lips. She looked at Iris, who was wiping her eyes, trying to hold back sobs. "Protected her," Alara whispered, looking back at me. "Didn't want to hurt." She shivered. Then her eyes closed again. I thought she was dead, gone, but she wasn't. It was as if she'd given up, slipping back into unconsciousness. Iris grabbed my arm, staring at me with wide, bloodshot eyes. What just... "I don't know," I said. We sat in the resort's lounge, away from the storage room, from the chaos. The heater hummed, wind rattled against the frost-covered windows. Snow piled softly against the glass, a gentle contrast to the anything but gentle experience we'd endured. My hand still shook, the adrenaline fading. Alara sat at a table, a mug of hot tea before her hair matted with sweat, her face pale and clammy. A burn mark shaped like the necklace marred her chest. She looked frightened, sick, more human than I'd ever seen her. Yet I couldn't forget what I'd witnessed. Her transformation, the terrifying spectacle. Iris sat beside me, holding my hand, sobbing quietly. I put an arm around her, trying to reassure her, even though it wasn't true. She was shaking, still in shock. I was too. I couldn't believe any of it. We sat in silence for a long time, lost in our thoughts. Only the crackling heater and occasional gusts of wind broke the stillness. I couldn't shake the image of the storage room. Broken shelves, claw marks, fins contorting body, Alara pulling off the necklace, burning herself. We sat in silence for a long time, not knowing what to say. Finally, Alara spoke, her voice hoarse and shaky, her gaze fixed on her teacup. "I owe you both an explanation." Iris, beside me, raised her head, her voice tiny, a whisper. "Yeah, you do." Alara nodded, rubbing her thumb against her mug. "You deserve to know the truth, but you have to understand. It's not easy to explain what you saw, what I became. It's not just a nightmare or an illness. It's a part of me. It always has been." She struggled with the words, forcing them out. I'm a Wendigo. I've always been one." A sting pierced my heart. My pulse quickened, my brain throbbing. I didn't know what to say. Iris tensed beside me. "What?" she whispered, her eyes wide with tears. "No, you can't be. You're... I'm human too," Alara said. "At least, I thought I was for a long time. The necklace made that possible. It suppressed the hunger, the urges. It gave me control. As long as I wore it, I could live like this. I could live as a person." Iris sat up, her fear slowly turning to anger. "And Finn?" she asked. "What was he doing with the necklace? How did he know about it?" Alara looked hurt. She put down her mug, turning away. "I told him," she said. "I thought I could trust him. He was my best friend for years. Before all of this, before I even knew what I was. I thought he'd understand, that he'd help me carry it. But instead, he became obsessed. I thought back to Finn. He seemed the type interested in such things, driven by insatiable curiosity and a desire to understand the world. Maybe he wanted to see if the necklace was real, if it was all a joke. He was very interested in it. I showed it to him one night, Alara continued. After a few too many drinks, I told him the truth. It keeps me human. I didn't think he'd actually take it. But he came back a few nights later and snatched it when I turned my back. I remembered the toast Finn had made earlier that night. The bride will eat the groom. At the time, I thought it was a joke. But now, she realized it wasn't. And then I realized it was missing. By then, he was already doing things. I tried to get it back, but he wouldn't listen. He said he was trying to see what it could do. If it really worked. I didn't think he'd wear it himself, but I should have known. I should have stopped him. You knew this could happen, I said, my voice flat, exhausted. That's why you were so anxious this whole weekend. You knew. Alara nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. I thought I could stop it from escalating. I thought no one had to get hurt. I didn't want you to get involved. But you let it happen anyway, Iris said. Alara didn't answer. A long silence followed. After a while, Iris sat down beside me, leaning her head against my shoulder. Alara stood, looking at us with an empty expression. I'll inform my family that we're postponing the wedding. No one has to know why. Please, don't tell them. Okay, I said, hesitating. Alara didn't wait for a response. She stepped back into the darkness and was gone. I stayed with Iris until she calmed down and fell asleep in my arms. Outside the window, I stared at the forest, thinking I saw shadows moving among the trees, but I couldn't be sure. There was no way of knowing what was out there, but I would be prepared. That's the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Have you ever experienced something like this? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like and subscribe button for new stories daily. See you in the next story.